I'm very pleased to be introducing the moderator for this afternoon's panel, Building Champions for Complete Streets, Lessons Learned from the Eglinton Avenue Planning and Urban Design Studies. JenniferKeesmaat will be our moderator this afternoon. As the distinguished chief planner for the City of Toronto, Jennifer is committed to creating places where people flourish. Over the past decade, Jennifer has been repeatedly recognized by the Canadian Institute of Planners and OPPI for her innovative work in Canadian municipalities. Most recently, Jennifer was named one of the most influential people in Toronto by Toronto Life magazine and one of the most powerful people in Canada by the Plenary magazine. Her planning practice is characterized by an emphasis on collaborations across sectors and broad engagement with municipal staff, councils, developers, business leaders, NGOs, and residents' associations. Her priorities include implementing a divisional strategic plan, leading an official plan review process, refining public consultation to provide more access to city building conversations, transit planning, mid-rise development on the City of Toronto's many avenues, and overseeing development review for over 4,000 applications annually. That's quite the mandate. Jennifer is the founder of Project Walk, which premiered its first short film in 2011 as an official selection at TIFF. In 2012, Jennifer debuted her own first TED Talk, Walk to School, and in 2013 she delivered her second, Own Your City. Jennifer is a graduate of the University of Western Ontario with a combined honours in English and philosophy, and has a Master in Environmental Studies, Politics and Planning from York University. Please welcome Jennifer.
Good afternoon. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here today with all of you because you do work and advocacy that is very close to my heart and is critical to building great cities. In the City of Toronto, we have an initiative underway looking at complete streets and how we can in fact create a framework and design guidelines for building complete streets in our city. And you've probably heard whisperings about this today, but tomorrow in this very room, we're going to have 450 staff from the City of Toronto from a whole variety of different disciplines: urban design, public realm, transportation planning, transportation engineers. This is a workshop to build capacity around why complete streets matter and how, in fact, we can create a framework for implementing complete streets in our city. You know, the idea of complete streets is pretty straightforward. The why is pretty straightforward. What becomes challenging is actually implementing complete streets, in part because we begin to negotiate our values. What it is that we value about our streets? What is it that we value about our public realm? And there's no better way than to have a conversation about this case study than to spend a little bit of time looking at Eglinton Connects. Eglinton Avenue, 19 kilometers, where we're implementing an LRT, has been the subject of significant discussion over the course of the past 2 years as we have been working to create a complete street alongside of this investment in transit infrastructure. And it's the transit infrastructure investment that is the impetus for building out a complete street. Now, this planning framework, the streetscape design, the built form framework, was approved at City Council over the course of the last term. And we went back to Council on several occasions, sometimes talking about the street, sometimes talking about the buildings, sometimes talking about the cycling infrastructure. And each time we went back to City Council, there was a really robust discussion. Again, it was like Groundhog Day. We did it over and over and over again. And I have to admit, when we were in the middle of it, I regretted it. But once we got through it, I reaffirmed my resolve that that was a critical part of building capacity and buy-in into the design of Eglinton as a complete street. It was not easy, and it will not be easy moving forward and continuing to find the funding to implement it. But at the end of the day, we pay for what we value. We build the infrastructure that is a reflection of what it is that we value in our cities. So this conversation in this room, the conversation that we're going to have tomorrow with city staff about why this matters, about how we're shifting how we move in a very fundamental way in our city, and our street infrastructure needs to reflect that, is in fact a critical part of building capacity such that we can move forward with success through implementation. So this panel discussion, this case study, is a wonderful opportunity to hear a little bit of the highs and the lows of a recently approved planning framework for 19 kilometers of a complete street running right through the heart of our city, joining the most urban parts of our city with some of the most suburban parts of our city. So what I'd like to do is begin by introducing our four panelists. They are each going to come up and make a very brief presentation. Following their presentation, we will have ample time for question and answers from the floor. So let me begin by introducing Paul Coolidge. Paul, and they're each sitting in the order that I'll be introducing them, but you can give a little wave when I say your name. Paul is a principal at Planning Alliance, and he has over 15 years experience in urban design and the construction of public streets, urban landscapes, and transportation hubs across this province. He is both an architect and an urban designer, and he's worked on a whole variety of different projects for the private sector, the public sector, as well as the not-for-profit sector. Some of his most recent work in the City of Toronto includes work at the 6-point interchange in Etobicoke, a very complicated highway configuration that we're trying to turn into a livable place. The development of complete streets guidelines for Eglinton corridor, that is Eglinton Connects. He's also worked on the Dundas West streetscape, and he's also worked on Bloor Street and St. George Street, some of our most important complete streets that we have today in the City of Toronto. Welcome, Paul. It's great to have you here. He'll be coming up momentarily. We also have with us today Alex Heath, and Alex specializes in the design and implementation of engagement processes that facilitate stable and defensible outcomes. And one of the challenges, as we saw as we went through the council process with Eglinton Connects, was you really test the success of your consultation. When you're on the floor of council, and there's some residents and some reporters who really don't like what you've done, who are in fact creating a tremendous amount of discord about the proposed project. You really test the resiliency of those consultation processes. So Alex was involved in the Eglinton Connects process, and he's with Swahern Facilitation, and he will be telling us a little bit about his role in linking stakeholders and to decision makers in what turned out to be a very complex and broad consultation process. I'm also very happy to have Jared Cole with us here today from Cycle Toronto, and Jared just adorned me with some jewelry before I began here. A few of you know what I'm wearing on my wrist. It's supposed to go on my bike. The minimum grid. I'm absolutely thrilled to be adorned with this, and it will be going on my bike. Jared, of course, is with Cycle Toronto and has been with Cycle Toronto since 2010, and he serves as its executive director. He has worked on a whole series of different advocacy campaigns in this city, including working on our Feeling Congested campaign, partnering with the City Planning Division in leading a tour, as part of our consultation, leading a tour showing the different types of cycling infrastructure that exist and don't exist in the City of Toronto. But he's also played an important role with respect to advocating for protected cycling lanes on Eglinton, as well as on Richmond Adelaide, and also looking, as the Minimum Grid campaign attests, to advocating for a comprehensive planning framework for cycling infrastructure in the City of Toronto. He, in fact, holds an MA in International Development from Dow, and he has biked across Canada. That's very cool. Our last speaker, and you notice we have here a really interesting cross-section of expertise sitting at this table, and that really is a critical part of building capacity for any complete street. So I'm thrilled to have at the table with us today Monique Dripal. Monique is a small business advocate, and she combines her expertise in business and marketing in working with a series of BIAs and raising the profile of those BIAs in the city. In particular, she has worked with the Fairbank Village BIA and also works with the Eglinton Way BIA. And as part of both of those BIAs, she was really a critical stakeholder as we moved through the Eglinton Connects process, because both of those BIAs are in fact impacted by this new transit infrastructure as well as by the street design. She in fact has lived and worked around the area, Eglinton area, for 10 years, so she also brings her personal experience as a resident of Eglinton.